Joe Booney and Joe Sports Channel proudly present Respect Women 110% t-shirts. These shirts come in 4 different colors: blue, pink, green, and yellow. These shirts cost exactly $25 US and Canadian. With each purchase, $5 will be donated to the Women's Breast Cancer Research Awareness. And don't forget, every Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, go to YouTube and search up Joe Sports Channel to catch up on your sports news and any special guests that may appear. And if you want to purchase more merchandise, go to joebooney48.wixsite.com/merch.
Welcome to Joe Sports Channel. You can follow me on Joe the Fighting Joe on Instagram. You can follow me on Taker Devlin, hashtag Joe Sports Channel. Ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls of all ages, to all the wonderful and glorious, beautiful Boonie believers out there, it is October 23rd, 2021, and I hope each and every one of you guys out there are having a fantastic evening, but especially a beautiful night in the great city of London, Ontario, Canada. Folks, it's been way too long, but the wait is over, folks. The host, the man from the Squadcast, the one, the only, Producer Clark. Good evening and welcome back, my friend.
Welcome. Thank you for having me in here. And you picked a great night for me to come on, Joe. Super appreciate tonight of all nights. But man, it's been a long time, like you said, and I'm super pumped to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Anytime. I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule, seriously, to come on the show, and appreciate you coming on tonight. Listen, I don't know what went wrong tonight from the Toronto Maple Leafs, but frustrations after frustrations. This team is seriously in deep trouble.
Yeah, it's not the best start. I don't think it's the start that many fans really wanted them to get after 6 games, but we have to remember that it is 6 games. So I'm trying to find the spot in my brain that has some sort of hope left, because tonight knocked a lot out of that part of my brain. I'll tell you that. So, it's definitely a slump. They've had a couple of rough games, especially even if you look back at San Jose's game yesterday. It wasn't the best either. Losing to a team they probably shouldn't have lost to. Pittsburgh tonight, missing so many guys from the lineup, and we weren't able to beat them there. It is the first road trip that they've gone to the States in over 550 days, so we have to remember that. And they did play last night on their first travel game. So if we're making excuses, that's maybe one, but we don't like making excuses, I know. But overall, it's going to be a big week coming up in terms of what this team does, because this game was definitely a wake-up call. If there has been one this season, there's been a couple already this season. This one was definitely the biggest one. They need to figure some stuff out, and it just kind of opened up a lot of doors for that. And they got a big game on Monday against Carolina. They're still on a road trip. So you know what? I was thinking I thought this a few times during tonight's game against Pittsburgh. I'm glad they're on the road. They need to be on the road for this. This isn't the
Oh,
time
yeah.
they want to be back at home getting booed. They need to be on the road and do some team bonding. I think they got some stuff to figure out, like I said.
You know, my friend, I couldn't agree with you more. But 7-1, no Evgeny Malkin, no Cindy Crosby, no Chris Letang. At least show some effort. The only man that showed effort tonight was one man. Doesn't even make $1 million. His name is Jason Spezza, the veteran, the future Hall of Famer. This team is filled with depth on the team. We got Morgan Riley. We got Jake Muzzin. We have Austin Matthews. Mitch Marner is not performing like he was last year, the year before. Something's going wrong with this team. I don't know if it's management upstairs. I'm not sure if it's Sheldon Keefe, but something's going on wrong, and it needs to change because this season's going to be a very long season ahead of us.
Yeah, it's definitely trending in a bad spot right now. There's things that I keep having to remind myself because I'm very close to the panic button. I'm not touching it yet though.
No.
It's definitely an embarrassing day. This game was not good, and I don't think you can take much good out of it. Early on in the game, I thought it was a pretty back and forth matchup, and then the Leafs had that one power play where they had some really good opportunities and they didn't score. And what I thought I saw was a lot of frustration because I think Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, John Tavares, all three of those guys specifically, are putting a lot of pressure on themselves right now to get the team out of this, and it's not happening, even if they're getting great chances to do that. And I think the frustration just got in a little early for those guys, and it kind of rubbed off on the rest of the team tonight, and it just kind of fell apart from there. One guy I was upset with, honestly, and I hate saying this, Jack Campbell. I thought, early on there was a couple of bounces that really he didn't have a chance on. There was some crazy, crazy bounces. I would say the first 3 goals were all just ridiculous bounces. There was one off of a hip. There was one off of a skate. There was one off of some other thing, like bouncing around like a pinball machine.
One off his shoulder, too. I thought one off his shoulder.
One off his shoulder, exactly. And I thought he looked a little frustrated with himself, too. And we all know, just from seeing him last year a little bit, he does put a lot of pressure on himself as well, and he beats himself up pretty hard. So you know what, maybe it's a good thing that this is happening because, like you said earlier, Joe, you just said it a minute ago. This team, it's a little worrisome right now, and guys aren't performing.
I'm worried.
Maybe this game tonight maybe is just kind of that. Can I swear on your show, Joe?
You can say the odd word. You can say the odd word.
I was just going to say a kick in the ass.
Take out your feelings tonight. You didn't get your food yet. Take out your feelings.
I was just going to say it's a kick in the ass. I don't think it's that bad. It's maybe this game is a kick in the ass that this team needs, and smarten up, and it's going to definitely send some shockwaves through the organization. I don't think that they're going to be, I'm top to bottom, I'm talking about, I don't think anybody's going to be too happy with how tonight went, and dating back to last night against San Jose as well. So we'll see again, as I mentioned, this next week, there's going to be a lot of really key things happening or not happening, and we're going to have to see how they react.
Now, I want to go back to yesterday when I was on your live stream and I was talking about the goaltending, the BS, and you didn't agree with me with that. But I want to tell you how a goaltender should play. A goaltender should play 82 games. It's been like that for years. Many years ago with, Vasa Toskala, or even going back then with Ed Belfour, they used to play almost 82 games. They used to get the odd night off. But bringing in Hutchinson and putting in Jack Campbell, if you don't remember bringing in Jonathan Bernier and then James Reimer came in, they ruined him. So I'm very concerned about the backup goalie situation. And this is no backup. This is a third stringer. We got rid of our second goalie, Mrazek got injured. And now we have Hutchinson, who played okay last night. A couple flukes that went in, but there was a lot of bad goals that went in. And now we're starting in the third period. I understood that all. But I'm concerned about this back and forth with Campbell and Hutchinson and Mrazek. It doesn't look good for the team around because we know what happened in the past.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, Mrazek getting hurt in the second period of that game, the only game he's been in so far, I don't think that was to plan, obviously. And I don't think that I think it kind of changed a lot of what the Leafs wanted to do this season with their goaltending. To me, I think the plan all along, especially with the money that they gave Peter Mrazek, was to split games with those guys and give them about 40, 45 each. And then eventually you're going to see the hot hand and who's going to get that, who's going to earn the starting role for the rest of the season. But obviously with Mrazek getting hurt, Michael Hutchinson was not plan A or B. He's plan C. And again, it's a difficult situation to get put into this early in the season because they didn't want to have to give Jack Campbell a ton of games because he's had his own injury history in the past, and they don't want to push him too hard, I don't think. And now they're forced to put Hutchinson in. And again, last night with San Jose, when we were talking on my live stream on TikTok, I was saying, this isn't an opportunity where this isn't a game early in the season where we need to be, taking Hutchinson out and putting Jack Campbell into a bad situation as it is. Because again, they weren't playing great. So if we put Jack Campbell in there, let's say maybe he lets in a couple of bad goals like Hutchinson did tonight when he jumped in the third period, let in 2 or 3 real early ones in the third period, didn't help anything. But let's say Jack Campbell does that last night. And then all of a sudden today he's starting and he's nervous and thinking about last night's game. And they're on the road. They just had to go through customs. It was a long night. I don't think that helps a guy in a back-to-back situation like that. Again, this early in the year. If it was game 80, 79, 80, and we needed a couple of points for a playoff spot, I could see it. But this is game 5, game 6, and that you have to play the long game in the NHL. It's not a league or the type of season where you can just go hard in game 5 and put it all on the wall, and then all of a sudden you're suffering for 10 games. That hurts you more than it helps you. So I know we had our disagreement last night. It was a friendly disagreement, but I think they made the right call in doing what they did with the goaltending, and I'm hoping that Mrazek can come back within the next week to 10 days, and then they can get back to their normal split. That'd be ideal.
Mrazek is a good goaltender. He really is. He's a good goaltender. He's a solid goalie. He played good for Carolina last year. Really good goalie. And I look at Mrazek and I look at Campbell. Mrazek, he knows the game longer. He's been in the league more, right? So going back to Jack Campbell, what he did tonight, a couple flukes that went in. Overall, I think he played okay. He didn't play the greatest. He played all right. But putting in Hutchinson in the third period was the right choice from Sheldon Keefe. But why did Sheldon Keefe take so long to put in Hutchinson? That's the question. Maybe you can answer that question for me.
If I had to guess, because I'm not obviously in the head of Sheldon Keefe, but if I had to guess, I think he wanted, again, it's early in the year, and I double as a baseball player. So I have an idea of starting goaltenders are very similar to pitchers in baseball. And as a coach myself in baseball and also a pitcher myself, sometimes early in the year, you just got to let a guy battle through some tough times. Sometimes getting, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, the wake up call type of deal, but sometimes getting shellacked is the best for you because you get it out of the way and then you kind of get that behind you rather than maybe it happening later in the year. So early on in the season, you need minutes to get your rhythm. You need just time on ice. And I think that's another reason why they put Austin Matthews out as much as they did tonight. They put him out a ton, even though it was going bad. And I think that they were seeing he wasn't having his best game, but they kept putting him out and they kept putting him out because early in the year, you need to get time, you need to get your rhythm. And even if it's not going great, sometimes that's good for your mental capacity just because you're like, I've been through this before. Now I can get over this and move on. So it's the same as pitching. Sometimes you're getting beat 10-0 in pitching, but maybe your coach just needs you to eat a couple more innings and it's early in the year. So he says, you know what, we're giving you 5 innings. I don't care how long it takes. You're going 5. And it's happened to me before. It's not fun.
We've seen that multiple times with the Maple Leafs over the years.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And even let's go up to the Blue Jays too. They've done that a couple times. But I think that was the plan for Campbell. And I don't think at the same time, I don't think they want to show the rest of the team that, hey, we're giving up on games already. I don't think that Sheldon Keefe is a guy who likes pulling goalies. I know that Babcock in years past and going back to further coaching regimes, they would pull goalies like crazy. And I from what I've seen from Sheldon Keefe, I don't think he likes pulling goalies. He likes to keep them in.
No, he doesn't. I see that.
And, give them confidence like, hey, if I'm giving you the start, I'm giving you the whole game. And I think he likes that. But gets to a point where I think he's just like, you know what? We can't keep doing this because our guys are just trash in front of him. And it's not helping Jack Campbell. Who's probably going to start on Monday night against Carolina. It's not helping him to stay in at this point.
I want to talk about Frederick Anderson because Frederick Anderson's having an amazing year in Carolina, and I'm very, very happy that he went to a good team like Carolina. Now, getting rid of Frederick Anderson, do you think that was a bad move from the Maple Leafs?
Well, I think I can't remember how much we talked about this last time I was on your show. I'm pretty sure it was one of our topics, but I'm a big Freddie guy. I always was. I was a big Freddie defender, and I would have loved to see him continue to be a Leaf for a long, long time. But at the same time, he put the team into a situation where they just couldn't really bring him back. He had 2 straight under 900 save percentage seasons. He continuously battled injuries and fought through stuff where when the team, we saw it in the All or Nothing clip in the series. If you watch the series, you saw it. The team was saying, you know what, we need to sit this guy. And he continuously said, no, I need to play. I'm good to play. I'm good. And that put him into a worse scenario. And I said it multiple times that in the last year, he didn't look healthy. He needs to take time off. And they gave him like a week off early in the year last year. And then he came back and was still hurt because I think he rushed himself. And I think he was just putting too much pressure on himself to play as many games as possible because that's the type of goalie he is. And for the Leafs to bring him back, if he wanted $4.5 million or $5 million, it would have put them in an even worse spot than they're in right now as of tonight. And tonight's not feeling good right now. So they wouldn't have been able to do what they wanted to do in the offseason nearly as much as they were able to do. And it would have put them in even a tighter position this year as well. So bringing in Mrazek, like you said, he's younger than Freddie. He's been in a tandem role, which I think is an important thing because, as I mentioned, I think their plan was to be able to split games and not force a guy to play 65 games if they don't need him to. And that wasn't going to happen with Freddie Anderson there. So it's a complex situation. And like you said, he's on a good team now in Carolina. I'm sure he'll have a great year. I'm sure of it. Because I said I'm a big fan of Freddie. So I hope he starts on Monday. I really do hope he starts on Monday.
I do. And I'm a huge fan of Freddie. And when I heard the news Freddie got traded, I was really sad. And I was bummed out. Over 5.5 years in Toronto, maybe if not even longer. The guy put everything on the table. Even Don Cherry compared him to Carey Price one year. I remember that. The guy had a hell of a year against the Bruins, if you remember that. Game 4, Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7. He played his heart out. He loved Toronto and saying that.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I pushed the button. I didn't mean to.
No, that's all right. It's black screen.
Let me see if I can get this back on here. I should be in. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear. Let me thing.
Yeah, I can still hear you if you want to keep going. I'm sure it'll pop back on in a second.
Okay. But Frederick Anderson, he loved Toronto. There we go. Frederick Anderson loved Toronto. He wanted to play for Toronto for so long. And knowing that he got traded, it wasn't just me. It wasn't just you. There was a lot of fans upset. Why would you get rid of your best goalie out there, one of the best goaltenders in the league? Yeah, he had a bad year. Okay, so be it. There's next year and there's a year after. And getting rid of Frederick Anderson, in my opinion, I think it hurt the Maple Leafs in a lot of ways because when you have a Mrazek that is injured, you have a Jack Campbell and you have a Frederick Anderson. You don't need a Mrazek or you don't need a Hutchinson. You have 2 solid goalies right there. Keep Campbell's the backup. Let him learn from Frederick Anderson. And if Frederick Anderson gets hurt, then bring in Campbell. That's how I look at it, right? But everybody has a difference in opinion.
Yeah, no, but again, at the same time, Anderson was hurt most of the year last year too, so we could have had the same conversation last year about Freddie Anderson being hurt.
It's like you can't. It's a battle, so you can't really win with this, right?
No, and I think that was the reason, though, Joe, that you have to remember that they had to go out and get David Riddick at the trade deadline last year for a 3rd-round pick. They brought in David Riddick from Calgary because they were worried about Freddie Anderson's health, and they couldn't rely on Hutchinson to be the guy in case that happened, and it turned out to happen. So they brought in Riddick to be the backup to Jack Campbell. Luckily, they didn't have to use him very often because Jack was just stellar last year. We all saw how that went. And he's been great this year so far, too, outside of tonight.
It's just unfortunate we haven't beat an American team yet.
Yes, exactly.
That's the sad part.
We need to get on that. Hopefully it starts on Monday.
Yes, we actually have a man backstage who's been waiting for over 20 minutes. A great man, a good friend of mine, a good supporter of mine. From Vancouver, British Columbia, the one, the only Sicilian. Good evening, Sicilian.
How are you doing, Joe and Clark? How are you, man?
I'm great. Let's chat.
You bet. I got to say this, Clark. I watched one of your shows on Joe's channel, and I couldn't help but notice how uh, direct and specific you are with your delivery, and that you really are poised and eloquent in how much you know and the knowledge that you have and what you're talking about. And that makes a huge difference when you have somebody like me that's, unbeknownst to what's really going on, you're immediately captioned by that person because of what you're saying. And I just want to compliment you on that, Clark. Finally, face to face.
Thank you. Appreciate that a lot. It means a lot. It really does.
I've been around the block a few times. I'm not as versed in the field in sports, and the only reason for that was I recall many years ago when the NHL went on strike, and I was a brutal fan. Like everything was hockey. I played hockey. My nickname was Grandpa because I was about 20 years older. I had the most goals, the most hat tricks, the most penalties. You name it, I did it, but never at a league level. For one, because I was too old, and two, we did it as a sport with the guys, and then even though we would beat the crap out of each other on the ice from time to time, we'd have little brawls. We'd go out and we would drink and we would talk about it, and ever since that time, I never could get back into hockey for some reason. And each time that I have, I've been very disappointed with some of my teams. So, I just don't handle that kind of pressure anymore well. And of course, the F-bombs go flying and things get broken around the house because I am Sicilian and I got hot blood, and sometimes I can't control myself because it's that emotion, that love that you have for the game. So I've kind of pushed myself away, but I did call it, Joe, when the Vancouver Canucks played the Kraken. Didn't I call it? I said, you watch. The Canucks are going to get mopped up like they never have coming into the first game. I believe it was of the season, or was it
preseason?
Preseason. But my thought is, hey, I don't give a crap if it's preseason. People want to see you play. So, and for me, I get it that it's not all about winning when you're young and you're coaching kids. You're saying, hey, it's not about winning. It's about playing the game and learning, the technique, and win or lose. You should be happy that you're out here, and it's a blessing that we're out here. However, when you get into the big leagues and there's those $1 million paydays and 13 million and 50 million, this is serious business, and people expect some kind of, an expectation, whether it's a preseason game or not. So I won't touch any more on that because, my hands start to go and I start to get a little crazy, and I'm not going to do that, Joe. I'm not going to take over your show tonight.
No. You have a very good point because you're saying players make millions of dollars. Well, we have a guy named Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and all these incredible players on the Leafs that are making millions and millions of dollars, but they're not performing. But a guy named Jason Spezza, who's not even making $1 million, is performing better than all those players together. So it tells you right there, who really wants to win for the team? Does Matthews really want to win? Or does Spezza really want to win? I really believe Spezza wants to win, and today he was the only guy that was performing on that ice. And it's sad to see. I'm unfortunate to say, but it's sad and it hurts as a fan, and I couldn't imagine as a player.
Yeah, and Spezza's got that Italian blood in him too, Sicilian. So he knows what's up. He knows how you're feeling right now. It was really interesting how they utilized him tonight, Joe. And he got put out a lot, and I saw it late in the game. They put him out a lot, and they put him on the power play. They put him on the penalty kill even late in the game. And again, I said it earlier, and I'll refer back. But this is one of those games. It's a wake-up call and a message-sending type of game. And I think Sheldon Keefe was out here saying, "Listen, guys, I got to play this 39-year-old guy in every single scenario, and he doesn't want to. I don't want him to have to. And he's the only guy doing anything. And he's out here the only guy doing anything tonight, scoring a goal. And he seemed like he was the only one who kind of You know, the give a crap meter was he was the only one that was really revving. So to me, this has got to be. I don't even know if Jason Spezza has to say anything in the locker room after the game, but this is a scenario where all these young guys that are making the money and are being relied upon, even John Tavares, let's not leave him out of this conversation either. Even though he's a little bit older, I think they all need to look in the mirror and be like, listen, if we're not going to be doing this, nobody's going to be doing this, and we got to figure this out now because it's going to be before too long. It's going to be not early in the season anymore, and all these problems are still going to be going on. So they need to figure it out.
We need to figure out it's going to be a long year, like I was saying at the beginning of the show. It's going to be a really long year, and I hope we can turn it around. Like we play Carolina on Monday. If we can get a win there, that's a good solid. You know, it would be three. We would be 3-3-1, and then we go Wednesday. And we're playing Chicago, right?
Yeah, Chicago, right? Yeah.
Playing in Chicago, Marc-Andre Fleury. He's been so not the greatest there. So if we can get 2 wins on the road, that's a W for us. That's good going back home. You know, 2
they got it, and I think Chicago might actually be back home. I think it was a 3-game trip. Might be it's 4, but I could have swore that the game against Chicago, I think, is back in Toronto. Please feel free to correct me.
Monday, the 25th in Carolina. Actually, we are in Chicago Wednesday as well.
In Chicago. Okay.
Yes, Chicago.
Then I think they have a home game before the end of the month then. Is that what I'm thinking?
We do, yes. The 30th of October against the Wings and Tuesday, November 2nd, the new month against the Golden Knights. So we still get two games on the road.
Yeah, so this is going to be a big, like I said, a big week because we're going to see a good Carolina team, an interesting Chicago team. I won't say that they're good, but they did make some moves, so they're going to be competitive. And then we see Detroit, who isn't supposed to be good, but we've already had issues with not supposed to be good teams this year in Toronto. So, and I say we in Toronto. I'm not in Toronto, obviously. I'm in Saskatchewan, but at the same time, I feel like I'm part of the crew. Anyways, if it's a big week, they need to be able to prove that they can handle these guys. They need to be able to win a couple of games after a bunch of adversity and show this ownership and management that they don't have to make a whole bunch of changes here that I don't think anybody really wants to have to make.
Wow. Especially Kyle Dubas. He doesn't want to make that right now, right? And you look at Morgan Riley. They didn't sign him to an extension of a contract. So is this Morgan Riley's final year in Toronto? Is he going to be traded at the deadline? We should have had a negotiation before the year. You know, we should have signed him for at least 2-3 years, maybe even longer. This guy should be a long-term Toronto Maple Leaf guy. But I don't know how things are going right now. It does not look good, unfortunately. But still early in the season, and things can.
I was going to say there's always this conversation of trading one of the big forwards if things don't go well. But the way it stands right now, to me, I think Morgan Riley's probably top of the list in terms of changes if something actually does happen. And that's if something happens. I mean, if they start losing a bunch of games and they need to, change everything up. It's a lot easier to trade a guy with a 1-year contract. That's part one. But part two is it's a lot harder to trade guys with long-term contracts with big money. And that's Marner and Matthews and Tavares. Tavares, I don't think is going anywhere regardless of what happens. Matthews just won the Rocket Richard, so I don't think he's going anywhere. So then it comes down to Nylander and Marner. And to me, Nylander's value is better in terms of keeping him because of his number is actually so much lower, $7 million, under $7 million, which it's a lot of money. I won't say that's not a lot of money, but when you got Marner making 10.9 and whatever he's making in change, it's a situation that brings up a lot of question marks. And I'm wondering if it's not easier, so to speak, to then do a Morgan Riley trade instead of one of those forwards. And I say that because how many teams are looking for top 4 defensemen every single year? He's only making $5 and a bit million, which is a contract that teams will be able to bring on compared to 11. It's a lot harder to add 11 than it is 5. And you can maybe even tack on a guy like Pierre Engvall or Travis Dermott maybe to that contract to make it a little bit more enticing. And then it's like, okay, so who are you able to bring in for that type of money? Because money out, I'm sure the Leafs are going to bring back money in. So who are they bringing in to replace that money would be extremely interesting. And the thought cropped into my head today during tonight's game because of how disappointing it was. But I was like, I should go look at some contracts around the league and see who the Leafs are going to be targeting. And then I stopped myself because I was like, you know what? I'm not going to allow myself to get there yet. It's too early for me to start looking around at that kind of stuff. But it did start creeping up after tonight. Like, it was just such a bad game. It was such a bad game.
I haven't seen a bad game like that since the Vasa Toscalis days. I'm telling you, I haven't seen.
There was a couple bad ones. Yeah, I was gonna say the Nashville Predators game about 6 or 7 years ago it was 9-2, and of course our good friend Steve Dangle made a lot of money off that video on YouTube for how many views it got. But that game, I remember a couple years ago, even just I think it was last year or 2 years ago, the game where they were the Senators, they had a 5-1 lead against the Senators, and they blew that one. That was pretty bad in a different way. Because again, they were up 5-1, so at least half the game was pretty good, and then the rest of it was terrible.
4-1, 2013,
4-1, of course. So
playoffs.
there's been a fair share. There's been a fair share of those types of games, but a 7-1 game like this, just the way that it happened with all the guys who are out for Pittsburgh, it's not good.
I want to go back to your point. You said you would rather keep Morgan Riley. That's what you said, right? Now, if you think about it,
I think Morgan Riley might
get rid of Morgan Riley. Now,
potentially, yeah.
Potentially. Now, would you rather keep a good, solid defenseman like Morgan Riley and get rid of one of the forwards? Because we need D. We have enough forwards out there. We have Austin Matthews. We have a lot of forwards out there. Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and so many other. Even Engvall. This guy is going to be one to remember for a long time. And Zach Hyman was another one that's a huge loss. 5 or 6 goals already? He's killing it in Edmonton. So yes. I would rather get rid of a guy like Marner and get rid of Marner and keep Morgan Riley and maybe even bring Jack Eichel to the lineup.
Now you're playing NHL 22 over here on Xbox while everyone else.
Exactly. I hear some stuff. I hear some speculation going around, right?
No, and I mean that is the thought process though. With I'll just say the fan base in general is that everyone's saying get Marner out of here because he's making too much money and he's not playing well, and bring in Eichel and all this stuff. And I'll break it down as quick as I can because that's a lot of conversation. That's a deep conversation. But again, it's extremely hard to bring in $11 million for most teams in this league. So for the Leafs to go out and trade Mitch Marner, they would also have to basically bring in that much money back. And can you get that much money back in fair value? Because at the same time, we can bring in maybe 3 or 4 players, but you're probably looking at guys who are overpaid, and then you're bringing in guys who aren't making the team any better. Whereas I look at Morgan Riley, for example, and again, he's only making $5 million. And if you were able to tack on maybe one other guy to that who's maybe making $1 to $2 million, and I said Engvall or Dermott, maybe both, depending on the situation. But you can find a couple of players who make, 5 or maybe $3 million and $3 million, or $3 million and $4 million. Maybe you bring back a defenseman and a forward. So maybe you're trading out $6.5 million, let's say, and you're bringing in 2 players. One makes 3 and one makes 4, and that makes your team better. You bring in a $4 million defenseman, a $3 million forward, something like that, and that makes your team better. Because the only thing I'm worried about, and I know, thinking back to the old days of the Maple Leafs when, who was it? Larry Murphy got ran out of town. And then he went on to have a Hall of Fame career, and we ran other guys out of town. Phil Kessel, we bashed that guy for years, and then all of a sudden, it got too much and the pressure to move him was too high. He goes on to win 2 Stanley Cups. I worry that Mitch Marner's a guy he's going to go somewhere else and get 110 points every single year for the rest of his career, probably win a couple of cups somewhere because he's that type of player. And we're going to be sitting here, oops.
Oops. What happened to Phil Kessel? He went to Pittsburgh, he won 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah,
right?
And in fairness, if the Leafs would have kept Phil Kessel, it was a terrible time in the franchise history. The Leafs weren't going to be good. So it's not like keeping Phil Kessel would have helped the Leafs win a cup at that time. But it is a situation where, this fan base loves to push guys out of town who are talented, and it often comes back to bite this franchise. So it's a caution for me for anybody who's out there just saying trade Marner. I'm going to put up the caution flags. I don't know if there's any racing fans out there, and say let's pump the brakes a little bit on that.
Of course. It's just
and I think if like I said, You could get a lot of value back to make your team better by trading a top pair defenseman like Morgan Riley. And I forgot to mention this earlier about Morgan Riley, and I'll make it quick. But the reason that we trade him is because hypothetically, if we try to re-sign him, he's going to cost too much money in his next contract. Yes, I'd keep Morgan Riley every day of the week if he was signed long term, but realistically, he's probably going to want $8 to $9 million or $7 million at least. And to bring him back at that money, then it's going to hurt us somewhere else and probably have to cause a hole somewhere else. So it's just a really complex situation where there's not a ton of options, and the ones that are there, I worry it'll make the team worse.
Yeah. See, Marner is not having the greatest year. Okay, it's only 6 games into the season. This guy might pick it up. We're still early into the season. Let's not, get our horses up and start going crazy, right? Because people are starting to say, "Fire Sheldon Keefe, fire Sheldon Keefe." You know how Leaf fans are. They go, "Well,
yeah, I'm hearing it already. I am hearing it already."
7-1, like that's a little unacceptable, against the Pittsburgh Penguins that I hear all over Facebook. They're an AHL team. An AHL team is beating a professional Toronto Maple Leafs team, right?
Yeah.
But going back
today
to the Pittsburgh
especially.
Penguins. Right, the Penguins are a good team. They have really good depth. Like they got young players. They got a good goaltender. They got is it Mike Sullivan as the coach?
Yep.
Mike
Winningest
Sullivan,
coach in franchise history, just as of this week.
So I hope the Leafs can turn it around. And what you were saying, I couldn't agree with you more. The only thing I'm concerned about is our power play. Let's get our power play more going. Let's score more goals. Let's get more chances. Now tonight we had a couple chances around the net, but we keep passing the puck. Just shoot it. We're too fancy. Even last night's game against the San Jose Sharks, we were way too fancy. Shoot the puck. It might deflect, and it might go in like the Penguins. They just keep shooting, and it goes in the net. They scored 7 on us today, right?
Yeah. So there was a lot of opportunities tonight early on the power play where I mean, it was grade A chances. You couldn't have gotten many better chances. And there was one especially where they worked the puck around. I think they made 3 or 4 passes, and they got John Tavares right in the slot, shot it off the pad, and it bounced directly to a wide open Austin Matthews, and he hits the post. And that just doesn't happen. 9 times out of 10, that's an easy goal. And then just shortly after that, they hit another post on the power play. And shortly after that, it was off the power play, but Jake Muzzin hits a crossbar. And it was just, there's so many opportunities in a game where if the puck is an inch one way or the other way, the whole game changes. And I think tonight the hockey gods were just not happy with Toronto for some reason. And nothing at all went right. The power play specifically, if you want to talk about that for a sec, I've noticed this year, I'm actually liking what I'm seeing. I know it hasn't been amazing yet in terms of the goal production, but last year what we saw, and I can remember it to a T, they would get into the zone, give it to Morgan Riley. He'd pass it to Mitch Marner. He'd pass it to Morgan Riley. He'd pass it to Austin Matthews. He'd pass it to Morgan Riley. He'd one time it to Austin Matthews. That was the power play. I can do it again if you want. They got Morgan Riley. You pass it to Mitch Marner. They gave it to Morgan Riley. They gave it to Austin Matthews. He shot. That was the power play last year. There was no creativity whatsoever, and they never changed it once. And you can go back and look at the tapes. So this year, what I'm seeing is they're moving guys around a lot more. There's a lot more movement. The passes are a lot more angled, which leads to really some confusion and chaos with defensemen. And obviously penalty kill forwards as well, but it makes guys turn around a lot more. I'm in a spinny chair, so it makes guys turn around a lot more. And when guys turn around on the penalty kill, they get stuck and they get out of position. And then that way you can find an opening and eventually get a scoring chance. And I've been seeing that a lot more this year than I have in the last 2, maybe even 3 seasons. Because their power play, although it has a lot of firepower, it was very basic the last couple seasons. So for me, I'm seeing this, and I'm already thinking, okay, this is going to be good. Let's let Austin Matthews get a few games under his belt because he didn't get a preseason, and he still is the trigger guy. He still is the shooter. But they are giving other guys more options, and William Nylander being on there, I love it because he does have a shot himself, and once he gets going too on that power play, you have 2 shot options. Morgan Riley, we've seen him shoot more, which is great because he needs to. And tonight, man, I said it, but I think the Penguins blocked like 20 shots or something tonight. It was just ridiculous.
I was like, the Sharks, like 20 or 21 shots, ridiculous.
Like blocking shots. The Sharks last night were blocking a ton of shots, like a ton of shots. And one of the other games, just a couple of games ago, there was a lot of block shots. So I don't know what's going on with the block shots outside of the fact that I think the team's focus right now is shot creation. And I think we are seeing more block shots simply because they're taking more shots. I don't know if the ratio is any different than it's been in years past, but because they're attempting so many shots, more are getting blocked. And I think it's just a kind of a chicken and the egg type thing, more maybe they're taking bad shots. I don't know, but I think the goal is let's take more shots and get more shots to the net and see what happens. And it just hasn't been working so far.
But don't you think on the power play, even with the Rangers power play, they had a very good opportunity with the Rangers. That was a phenomenal game. I think they should have won that game. Right? That was
my God. That was the most frustrating game in such a long time.
My temper was up and down. My blood pressure was, oh, come on, just get that goal, right? And Jack came on an incredible third period in overtime.
Yeah. Wow.
But unfortunately, the Rangers came on top. And the Rangers are a good hockey team, too. You know?
Yep.
But again, going back to what I was saying, my point is they're too fancy around the net. They keep passing. Don't you think if they shoot more at the net on the power play, don't you think they'll score more?
Yeah, for sure. And we saw that with the Rangers. Actually, that was the other game I was thinking of where they were getting a lot of shots blocked. The Rangers are doing a great job too. So again, I don't know if they have to change something with that or what, but one of the things actually, I listened to the post-game press conference with Sheldon Keefe on that one. And he said, tonight we got a lot of scoring chances, a lot of good scoring chances, but they were too clean. And I thought that was a really interesting quote because what it means is, you know what, they were getting a lot of decent shots off. They were shooting, but it was clear looks for the goalie. And Shesterkin that night had no problem just saving all of them. And he was good. He had to make some good saves overall, but for the most part, it was a lot of, easy shots where he could see it the whole way and he just made the save. And I think what Sheldon Keefe and company are trying to do on the power play specifically is they want to get a bunch of traffic in front of the net. They want to make it scrambly. And like I said, when you get guys turn around, especially in front of the net, they start falling over or they get out of position or they let a guy go. I think that's what they're trying to do with all the extra passes. Is they're trying to get a couple extra guys out of position, and then it should lead to a really good chance in front of the net. And I think it's part of just working out the power play. It's a brand new system, like I said, and I think the guys are still getting used to it. And once it starts clicking, if they keep everything the way it's going right now and they don't start trading everybody, if you talk to me in a couple months, I promise you this power play will be clicking and you'll be super pumped with it.
I believe so. I really do. I really do, Clark. I really do. It's just
they just have to not trade everybody before then.
I want to get, I feel bad because Sicilian's over there just listening. He's not even getting a word in Sicilian. You can talk.
No. I'm enjoying this, and I mean the one thing that Clark mentioned was the laws of averages. I mean, the more you shoot at the goal, the chances are that you could get a goal. So I think that goes without saying in anything that you do in a sport situation that these are the laws of averages. I personally like the hitting. The more hitting you get, you start creating a little bit of intimidation. People start moving out of the way. They're out of position, as Clark says, and it creates opportunities.
Absolutely. And that is something they want to do with Nick Ritchie. And that's why, a lot of people have been upset with Nick Ritchie coming into the Toronto Maple Leafs is because he's supposed to be this disruptive physical guy. And he's kind of been okay. But he hasn't been good enough.
He's in between. I don't know about him yet.
He hasn't been quite good enough. And we saw the last two games now, they've moved him down to play with Spezza. And now our conversation tonight is now changing my mind on all of that because maybe they're putting him with Spezza because Spezza is the only guy who's trying and maybe they want to get him going. I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. So anyways, it is an interesting time, but I think we have to give them an opportunity to get a few more games under their belt before we really, really start to panic. I know that the worry is there and I'm concerned too. I'm frustrated. This has been a weird, concerning, frustrating start. But the panic button's over there, and I'm not going over there yet.
No. We don't want to go. We went there last year. We were up 3-1, and then we lose 3 in a row. I don't want to go back to that again. If that ever happens again, I think I'll have a heart attack. I'm being serious. Last year, what they did to me and what they did to Leaf Nation, I can't see that again. I really can't. And I wanted to ask you, Clark, and maybe you can get a word on this. The team from last Toronto Leafs year, last year's Leaf into this year, are they kind of the same? Are they better, or have they gotten worse, or where are they right now?
That's a tough one because, again, I don't think we've been able to see them at their fullest or best yet this season. So Zach Hyman's massive. Losing Zach Hyman is huge. Freddie Anderson, even if he wasn't playing great, he's a big icon in this team, and that's a big loss, and it's going to take time to adjust. And I think Peter Mrazek, again, will be good. He just needs to get some games under his belt. He can't be hurt the whole time. So if he comes back, I think you'll notice a big change just in the general demeanor of the team. He is kind of he's not flamboyant is the wrong word, but he's kind of an energetic guy. So if he starts playing, I think people will really rally behind him. We saw it even in a couple of preseason games where he was making some really big saves and the crowd was into it, and the players, you could see them responding to it. And not that Jack Campbell is not that, but Jack Campbell's very conservative. He's very calm and he's very poised. Whereas Mrazek's kind of that old school energetic. I'm going to make a big save. I'm going to show you that I made a big save by doing this a whole lot. Like he's going to do some stuff. So I think he'll be a fun guy to get onto this roster full time. They've made some swaps, and a lot of people are, said they're bringing back the same team. That's the one thing I keep hearing a lot is they're bringing back the same team, but they're really not. They lost again. Hyman, Thornton's gone. They let go of a few other guys up front. They let Zach Bogosian go because he wanted to be back home with his family in Florida, so that's understandable. But they did swap out a bunch of guys. They brought in Nick Ritchie. They brought Michael Bunting, who I really like, and I think a lot of fans are responding well to him. He seems like Hyman's replacement if there is one. So I think we'll like him long term. David Comp, to me, is going to be a guy that over time more people will grow to appreciate. I know right now with the team not scoring goals, and he hasn't done that either. He's probably hasn't worked his way into a lot of people's hearts yet, but he is a penalty kill wizard, a face-off wizard, and he has been great so far this year. I think he's at like 60% face-offs, which is ridiculous. And our penalty kill, although tonight wasn't awesome, our penalty kill was top 10 in the league going into tonight. So there's that. And I really do think that they're going to be better this year overall, penalty kill wise. They were 24th last year. It's stuck in my mind that they were 24th last year, penalty kill. And it's just not good enough. You have to be better than that if you want to win. So I like the additions, but I'm not in a position to sit here and tell you that they're better than last year as of right now.
It's too early in the season, right? But we're panicking so much right now because the loss 7-1, losing the other night against the Sharks. The Sharks, where'd they come from? They're 4-0, right?
What's going on? They're supposed to be bad. Go away, Sharks.
Right? Like these teams that are from the garbage last year coming up, and teams like Toronto and all that going down. And look at Buffalo. Who thought Buffalo would be this good? But again, Buffalo was hot last year, if you remember that when they came on and they kind of went down. It's early in the season. Of course, we're going to panic. But again, Monday, if we can rebalance, beat the Carolina Hurricanes. And Wednesday, if we can beat Chicago, we go home Saturday against a Hot Wings. And we're at the Scotiabank Arena. I think we'll be good then.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I got some comments here. Monday, I believe we all are be proud again with the Leafs. Look at this. I was there. Vancouver 1994.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see the comments. Sorry, guys. You're seeing looking at the comments now. Let's see.
Shout out to Rita. She said she's from Saskatchewan, so I just wanted to say hi to her.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. We got one here. Leafs are a joke. They need to get rid of Matthews.
Yeah, right. Because that's what you do. You get rid of the Rocket Richard winner. That's what you do.
Yeah.
The Rocket Richard winner is a phenomenal player, and I'm gonna get another bet with you. I know last year you were very close.
So close.
You were what? I think you said 50 goals.
I think I said 52, and he ended up with 47 or something like that. So I got, I was pretty close. I was right there, and I think if he would have played a couple more games, he would have got it. But
okay, so I'm gonna do a bet because I love your energy, and you're a Leafs fan. You're from Saskatchewan. So first, I'm gonna ask you, how many goals do you think Matthews is gonna get this year?
So now, if you would have asked me if he would have played game one and he would have been 6 games in at this point, I would have said 60. But this year now, 6 games in, he hasn't scored yet, and it's taking him a little bit longer to kind of get back into the groove. I'll go all the way down to 50. I still think this guy has some talent that Toronto fans specifically haven't seen in a long time. And I think he's just even hockey in general. So I'm going to say 50.
Okay, 50. If Austin Matthews scores 50 goals, not only you get a brand new Toronto Maple Leafs hat from Toronto Shop, you will get a T-shirt that has Austin Matthews is the Toronto shirt. Look at the jersey and the Matthews in the back, and I'll send that to you.
Yes. Okay, that's an easy win.
That's a deal. Last year, we didn't play 82 games. I think we played about 48 games, and it wasn't fair. So I want to make a more of a fair agreement with you, and
perfect.
I think you'll get 50 goals, and I want to send you that hat and shirt in the mail. I would love to do that.
Perfect. Can I say 30 then? So I just make sure.
Oh, look at this. He's changing his opinion now.
I just want to make sure I get it this time.
I'm a nice guy. I think I'm a nice guy. I'll say maximum 43. Maximum 43.
We're not lowering the bar. I said 50. No. Let's go 50.
No, okay.
He did say 50.
Yeah, okay. Look at this. Here's the deal for this season, Joe. If Toronto makes the playoffs, I will wear the Leafs jersey playoffs and root for them. Okay. He's a Rangers fan. He's a big Rangers fan.
Oh, okay.
All I say is remember what happened last year with the Canadiens jersey.
Oh, did he wear one?
He wore one because he made a bet with my dad. If the Canadiens beat, was it the Penguins? You're talking about the year before when there was a pandemic, when the guys couldn't travel. Joker. It was one of the years he had to wear the jersey in Tampa Bay. He went to a bar and he was one of all Lightning fans, and people were looking at him. What's this guy wearing a Canadiens jersey? I thought he was nuts. I would have thought he was nuts. 45 is my guess. Haha. Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah. We got a few minutes left. Cecilia, you have anything you want to say to Clark? I know we're running out of time.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just, I just really enjoy his in-depthness and how he delivers the information. He knows, I've said this to you myself, Joe, the guy knows his stuff.
Yes.
And you couldn't have had a better guest like Clark Monroe on your show, because I've seen some other people, and not to downplay anybody, they're all good, but Clark has a very special technique with his delivery, and I really enjoy listening to you, Clark. I really do.
Oh, thank you. I'll send you your check in the mail after this.
Thanks.
I'm really, really fortunate.
Joe, I was going to say, okay, I got a bet with you. I bet you that the Canucks will make the playoffs, but they won't win.
Okay. But there's no bet. There's no bet
for it. But what do I get for it?
How about the Canucks have finished with more points than the Leafs? How about that is the bet?
That's a pretty good one.
Okay. I like the Canucks this year, so I wouldn't even put it past them, honestly, if I'm making the bet. Just saying.
How about this, Sicilian? How about this? If the Canucks...
I'm game. I'm game. But you know what? I've been really let down by the Canucks for many years. They were the only team that I would actually watch next to Toronto, because Toronto used to be my childhood team. It was my childhood team. The Dave Keons, God, I love Dave Keon in the day. I don't, maybe way past Clark's day in the game. You remember Dave Keon, Clark, from Toronto?
I mean, I know the name, but I can't say I ever saw the guy play.
Well, I mean, I used to watch the Toronto Maple Leafs as a kid, just a young kid, and they were my team. And then I moved from Winnipeg to Vancouver, and I obviously became a Canuck fan. I was at that game in '94, Joker, by the way. But, it's just, it never ceases to amaze me, like from where I'm sitting, how the media and even the teams in some capacity focus on one or two players. And I keep saying, oh, no, they're overrated. They're not as good as you think. But, hey, listen, it's business and business and sports. They kind of go hand in hand because there's serious money and stuff like that. But I've got to tell you, as a true hockey lover, I've really lost interest. And the only time I do gain that interest is when the playoff seasons come. And then I start watching, because that's when these guys put their hearts into the game. Because I hate going to a game, paying big money, and watching your home team lose. And that used to be my thing in the day when I'd go to Rogers Arena, or in the day when they were at the Coliseum. It was one disappointment after the other. You get a 2-3 goal lead and you end up losing by 2 or 3 goals. It's like, are you kidding me? How is this possible? But nonetheless, I'll make that bet.
How about this? I will give you a bet. If the Canucks make the playoffs, you send me a Henrik Sedin jersey in the mail.
Run that by me again. Let me listen a little more carefully to your delivery on that.
They have all been burned on Grenville Street.
I'm being serious. That's a good bet. Come on. Henrik Sedin, one of my favorite players, okay?
All right.
Okay. That's a great deal. And if the Canucks don't make the playoffs, I will send you something special in the mail to you, Cecilia. So either or, somebody's getting something. Nobody's losing here, okay? Nobody's losing here.
Aren't the Sedin brothers now part of the organization in terms of the business and some kind of connection?
Yep. They're the assistant GMs, I think, right now.
Yes, they are. And you're not a fan of it, Sicilian, yourself. You were pretty pissed off, actually, when I told you that news. But the Sedins now manage me, because you're not a big fan of the Sedins, right, Sicilian?
No, never have been. Overrated. I use the word overrated, and they still are overrated. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. You got 2 guys there that were born at the same time, within minutes apart. They play hockey. You would think with 2 guys on the same team with that same mindset would be enough to take that team with all of the other components, because they did have some really good players. And that's what throws me off, is like, with all that talent and with these 2 guys that are the next best thing to sliced bread, it didn't do anything for us, Joe.
But
so
if I may.
Yes, of course you may, Ing.
How is it that they were the best offensive line in the NHL for 3 years?
Well, they can be the best offensive line in the last 3 years.
Most
but
goals.
where did it bring them? If they were the
You know
best?
why? The coaching of the goalies. The Corey Schneider Luongo thing broke their neck.
I don't know about that. We always blame it on the coach and the guy that's
I do.
At the top.
But dare point out,
The players are making more than the coaches, and they should be motivated to win. That's the way I look at it. Money talks, bullshit walks. And if you want to throw some bullshit out into the audience here, that's great. Let's blame the coach. Let's blame the assistant coach. Hey, you know what? That same fan sits behind the coach that screws everything up. Let's blame the fan. Let's look at the players.
Yeah.
I was young. I needed the money, Cecilia. I needed the money. I'm sorry. But let me ask. That last season, when they made it into the finals,
yes,
Corey Schneider did 3/4 of the whole season, and they put Luongo into the playoffs, and he got nailed. And we had 7 goals in one game. He puts Corey Schneider in. And then there was the lockout. How can he not drive Luongo to the airport? So he's never going to be back. Corey Schneider, 10 months later, was the number 1 goalie with Luongo on the bench. He got 4 goals in the first 10 minutes of the first game in Vancouver that season. That's what I call coaching the goalie shitty.
I understand where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, the coach is there watching his players perform.
Explain this to me.
Have to do the job. It's the players that want to finish the work. When you want to go to work, your boss is there. Your boss is sitting down saying, paint this wall. You're painting it. But if you stop and say, no, I just want to relax, it's the player's fault. It's not the coach's fault. It's not the boss's fault. It's your fault. Go do the job and making millions of dollars. The coach is there trying his best to get the
Absolutely.
best.
I get it. Absolutely. Right? But let me ask you this. When Luongo came to Vancouver, his first game, the coach made him the captain. It was in Minnesota that Luongo got 5 goals the first 10 minutes. He had to take him off. He broke Luongo coaching in. 5 years later, he didn't drive him to the airport. No, he was the number 1 goalie behind Corey Schneider. They were the best offensive team for 3 years with goals, assists, and everything. What they did get too much were the goals against. Look at the numbers.
I understand where you're coming from. And you know what? Look, they screwed him in Vancouver. They screwed him a lot in Vancouver.
They did.
And I'm happy he went back to Florida, actually. Right, Clark? He was in Florida at the beginning of his career, right?
Yeah, he started out in.
I'm sorry, Sicilian.
With the Islanders.
I'm just very.
Yeah, then he moved on to Florida. He went back there to finish off his career. He was. I would have loved him on the Leafs. I would have loved him on the Leafs for those couple of years when Brian Burke tried to get him, and then Brian Burke got fired. So I would have loved him in Toronto.
Brian Burke was the only reason that the Vancouver Canucks were even on the playing field in the 2000s. And he did one thing. He actually gave away a first draft pick to get the Sedins together on a team because they were, so he got them all in and he had them all set up. And then Pertuzzi nails this guy from Colorado. There was the lockout. No, it was a strike that year, 2005. And Quinn said, I don't want Pertuzzi back. Naslund went back to Sweden and played. And he said, I don't want to have him back either. Who did he want to hire that year when the strike happened in 2005? Scott Niedermayer. And the owner said in Vancouver, I don't want him. And I want Pertuzzi back. So they fired Quinn. Where did Quinn go that year? Pat Quinn. 2000. Where did he go? Anaheim Ducks.
That's when they won the
No. Wait, Joe, I'm not done. He called Nonis and said, please, even if Pertuzzi comes back, and Naslund, take Scott Niedermayer. He's a Canadian. Where did Scott Niedermayer go because the owners of Vancouver said, we don't want him? He went to the Anaheim Ducks. That year, they won the Stanley Cup. You let Pat Quinn do what he wants, we would finally have a Stanley Cup in Vancouver. They fucked it all up. I haven't been to a game since. Sorry.
He's looking down upon you now, Ing, and he says, blessed is your soul, Ing.
He's a real Canadian to me.
You better believe it.
Joey, you saw the jersey.
I did.
All you guys saw the jersey.
Yes, we did.
If they make the playoffs, and I'll sweeten the pot. If they make the playoffs and get past the first round, I will not only wear that jersey this year for the playoffs and root for them, I will wear it at every Lightning game I go to.
Did someone clip this? Because he's gonna say, "No, I never said that."
No. He knows. See, here's the thing. He knows I keep my word because last year I made a deal with.
So do I.
I made a deal with his dad, and when I made the deal with his dad, I said, if the Canadians actually make the playoffs for some odd reason, make the playoffs and get out of the first round, I will wear that jersey to a bar wherever and wear it for the entire rest of the postseason. It just so happens that they decided to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
He took a risk.
I just so happened to walk into a bar during the Stanley Cup Finals.
That was a
with a
big
freaking
risk.
Canadians jersey on.
That was a big risk of going to Tampa Bay here in Florida.
I will never do that again.
No. Take me back to that. What happened? Anybody say any bad comments or any threats or anything?
I almost got into like 5 fights. I'll be 100% honest with you. Like, it was like, why are you wearing the jersey? I was like, because I keep my word. Yeah. But you're rooting for the Lightning because I'm a Lightning fan. But I'm also going to root for the Canadians because I keep my word.
Yeah, at least you're keeping your word. That's one thing. That's an honest man.
Joe, I want to apologize because of all the people on panel, I know the least of hockey, but I'm just emotionally involved with my
You're
home team.
lying. I know the least, King. You know
No,
a
I
hell of a
wouldn't.
lot more than I do.
You see,
Oh,
I love
would.
it.
and
I love it.
I understood where you come from. I really did.
I picked Canada to be the best place on earth. That's why I immigrated here. Just saying.
I love it.
I will say
Great.
this. I will say this. I love my Rangers. They're actually looking good this year. I give them I honestly seen them in preseason. I was a little okay with them. I was like, okay, this might actually be a good team. They're young, they're hungry, they look like they want that fire like they have before. So I mean, I hope this year goes good for them. I think that this year could be a good year for them. You know, all my sports teams minus a couple right now are actually doing really good.
Yeah.
But winning against the Senators just with one goal, Joker.
No, listen, the Senators were their recent
No,
game. But if you look, they played
yes,
Toronto.
yes, no.
That Toronto game was
I'm kidding.
that was a shocking game to me. They
It was.
played
It was.
the Capitals. They played a couple of good teams where they should have lost. Even the Penguins, they should have lost against the Penguins. They didn't.
Well, they see the Penguins coming to Tampa Bay, their first game, the opener, and their ceremony. They embarrassed them. What was it, like 6-2, Clark? Something like that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That was an
Yeah, they were
embarrassment,
great.
right? But I want to ask Clark before I let you go. I don't want to hold too much time with you left. I have one more question to ask you, Clark. If you remember that game against the Ottawa Senators in Ottawa, when Mrazek had an unbelievable second period, he kept us in the game, Mrazek, in that 2nd period. Like, if you could imagine if they scored a couple more goals on us, we would have been done. And then Campbell came in and shut the door in the 3rd period. It didn't let any goals in. So Mrazek did play good for us in that 2nd period. He saved us from a really brutal game at the end.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was trying to say earlier too with his game. I think that first period with Mrazek, I think he was fighting it. I think he was a little nervous. I think it was his first game with the new team. I don't think he was settled. But by the time the 2nd period came along, he looked like a different goalie. The first period it looked like he was fighting pucks and they're coming in, and he doesn't usually look like that. And then the 2nd period he looked way more calm. But I also think he got hurt early in the 2nd, and you could see that he was maybe fighting through that a little bit. So maybe that took his mind off of his nerves, and then he was just focusing on his body, and then he got more hurt at the end of the period. So again, he has had some lingering injuries in his career, so I really hope that this doesn't last longer than maybe another week or so, and then he's back, and they can get back to what their plan was supposed to be. So it'll be better when he's back.
It will be, and I hope Monday's a win and Wednesday's a win, and we can go home on Saturday and have a good game against the Wings. Yeah. I want to thank you seriously, Clark, for really coming on the show tonight. I really enjoy every bit of you coming on, saying all your Leaf stuff, your facts. And again, thanks to TikTok. If I didn't click that, then we would not know each other. And I'm looking forward to have you on the show a lot more often during the regular season and postseason. And it's just been an honor. You have any last words, my friend?
No, thanks for having me on. Good to meet you, boys. The 3 that are on here
Good
today.
to meet you, sir.
Thank you for popping in and saying hi. And if you want to follow me on TikTok, that'd be lovely. I'm at Producer Clark on TikTok. You can find me there. My day job is a sports talk show producer. So that's why my name is Producer Clark. So I produce a show called The Rod Peterson Show. It's every day. You can go check it out. We just had Mike Babcock on again the other day for the 3rd time we've had him on now. So you can go check that out. And my show that I host myself, it's down on the ticker below Joe right now. Please subscribe to the Squadcast. That's the show that I host. It's every Tuesday night. It's a lot of conversation like this. We don't go an hour on the Leafs, but we get a lot of sports talk, and we talk NFL.
How dare you tell this to Joe?
No.
We get a lot of baseball talk, a lot of NFL. So we have a lot of fun on that one. But
he had to rub it in. I get his point, though. Joe, I get his point.
Hey,
I don't know.
I would go an hour on the Leafs if I could, but my co-host is a Nashville Predators fan, so we try to keep it even.
No chance. No chance.
Producer Clark, I will say this: you're probably going to have a lovely day of research tomorrow, because it looks like right about now the Braves are about 2 outs away from going to the World Series.
Beautiful. I love it.
And
Go Braves.
you tell your co-host, the Mr. Predators fan, I say a little hello. I love his energy in the building, and maybe some down the road I can have him on the show, both of you on. That'd be amazing down the road.
Love it.
Future, whatever. Let me know with that. But Thank you. I can't thank you enough, buddy.
Absolutely. I will take off now, but Joe, thanks for having me on. Good to meet you guys, and thanks to everybody watching.
Take care,
Have a
Clark.
good
Thank you
one,
there,
bro.
Clark. Thank you.
What a great individual.
Totally.
You have to give us all the links. Give it to me in Discord so I can plug it.
Make sure, guys, subscribe to Squadcast every Tuesday nights. He goes live on YouTube.
Oh, that, okay, yeah.
Oh, I just subscribed while I was on here.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's such an incredible guy.
Multitasker.
He loves going on people's podcasts, and when I had the chance to have him on my show for the first time, I was really excited having him on, and now I have him on for the second time. It's just it's a gift from God, so I'm very, very thankful for amazing people like him.
It was a good show, Joe.
It was really, really
Good
good.
show.
Yeah,
Especially when
definitely
Ing
was,
came in at the end and delivered all that energy. He got me fired up, but I know why you brought Ing at the end. He's that ringer that you bring in at the end of the show that gets everybody fired up and gets things going. I tell you something, Ing, you got a lot of energy in you, and
Thank
I
you,
love
sir.
you, man.
Thank you.
I love
Thank
you,
you.
man.
Thank you.
I'm in your
love
neck
it.
of the woods tomorrow, eh? I'm in White Rock tomorrow.
I live in White Rock.
I know. I'm gonna be in the Buena Vista Drive area.
What are you doing there?
Oh, I can't
A
say
party?
on the show. I can't say on the show.
If it's a party, I gotta be there. I gotta bring the beer.
I wish it was. It was just, it would be nice to just say, "Hi, Ing, I'm Tino. Great to meet you."
I
need to
knew
move
of
to
you,
Canada.
and I'm really, really honored we were on a panel. Sorry, Choker, I cut you off.
No, I just said I need to move to Canada.
I told
Well,
you
it's a
that
great
a year
place.
ago.
It's a great place.
It is a great place.
It's a beautiful place, especially
Oh, I
if you're
know.
on the West Coast.
We have no winter.
I so want to come to Vancouver. So want to come meet Sicilian.
Any of you is invited. You can stay at my house. I feed you. I won't pay for the ticket. You just have to get here.
Now
You see that, Joe? Now you got a place to stay at Ing's. You got a place to
Absolutely.
stay with me.
He
You
knows.
You
know,
already know my answer.
Yeah,
already know my
No, it's a
answer.
joke.
Joe, you come down to Florida, you already know you got a room here.
I know. I appreciate. Seriously, I appreciate everybody, but you guys, seriously, three of you individuals, you guys are not only my great supporters and Booney believers, but you guys are family to me too. The words that you say to me is absolutely amazing. I love every bit of it, and I love you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I will always support you guys and always protect you as much as I can. I'm very, very thankful for that.
Let me ask the Sicilian, sir. Does he look like a 21-year-old to you? Because whenever he opens the mouth, it's wisdom. I always think, oh shit, he has a
I
point.
wish. I mean, one of my arms is 21 years of age, so I'm not doing too bad. I'm not doing too bad.
No, he's a good kid.
You know what it is, Ing? It's West Coast living.
It is.
I used to live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I thought
Sorry to hear that.
Well, listen, I thought I had it made. My wife and I decided to buy a 40-acre ranch up in the Duck Mountains, which is about 5 hours from Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
That first year that I was there, I tell you, Ing, I said to myself, what the F am I doing here? Like, I'm going to go cabin crazy here. And
cabin fever,
think,
yeah.
I think there was this 1 week in January, I kid you not, it was 50 plus below out, no wind. This is with no wind, no wind chill, 50 below plus. And just to give you an analogy, I remember somebody says, take a jug of water and throw it out the back of your porch, and I'll tell you, you see what happens. And I thought, well, maybe I'm going to get blessed with 49 virgins. I don't know. I went out there and I threw that jug of water out, and it literally dissipated in the air. It didn't even hit the ground. It just turned to steam. I've never seen anything like that. That's how cold it is up there. And I said, you know what? I can't stay here anymore. It's beautiful. It's serene, but it's so desolate, and there's nothing around you but the deer and the antelope.
Well, listen,
I had to get back to the city.
when you shoot a deer in January up there, you have to wait till March to bleed it out because it's so frozen.
Or you can just leave it there because it's like a freezer, and then just before the spring, you go out there and pick it up and then get ready.
We got some breaking news. The Atlanta Braves have just defeated the Los Angeles Dodgers to face the Houston Astros in your 2021 World Series. Congratulations.
Nice.
There it is on the screen for you boys.
Nice.
Boom.
So give us your social media links, Sicilian. Because put it in private chat. Or
Well, boys, it's been a pleasure. I'm gonna get out of here, but
good to talk to you again, Joker.
you too.
Good to
guys
meet you,
have a good
Joker.
night. Nice to meet you too,
Say
Cecilia.
hi to the family.
I will. Booney, you already know. Love you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, brother. That is Joker from Tampa Bay, Florida.
And then there were three.
And then there were three. Any last word, guys? We're running out of time, but I really
Pleasure to finally meet you, Sicilian. I already
Likewise.
knew him. I already knew
Likewise,
him.
the pleasure is mine. Ing. I love your energy. I really do.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love your energy, and I like your straightforwardness. I mean, every once in a while, you slip up with the F word, but that's okay. I think that kind of goes well with the conversation and your energy.
Listen, English is not my first language. I'm not sophisticated enough to get my point across. Sometimes an F will help. No, but you know what? I traveled the world in the 7 seas. And my wife and I said, okay, I'm pregnant. I said, where are we going to raise children? And she said, Canada. I said, well,
You made the right choice.
The only Canadians in my house are my kids.
It's okay. You made the right choice, Ing.
And
It's a beautiful nation.
yes.
Not to downplay the United States, but Canada is a beautiful place.
Interesting
Really
you say that. May I just say one thing about that? Everyone always told me when you're an American and you're Italian, you're American first and then an Italian. In Canada, you're an Italian first and then a Canadian.
Yes.
And then 20 years ago, I thought maybe we don't believe in us. Good. Today, I think that's the way to go. You can only accept other people no matter where they're from, heritage, background, religion,
Right.
skin color, if they are allowed to bring their culture here.
Absolutely.
We
Totally.
welcome everybody. Don't care what race, what color, what creed. Everybody is welcomed in to this beautiful country. It's about love. It's about respecting each other. Doesn't matter about the skin color. It's all about the inside. Don't matter about the outside. It's about the inside. If we love each other, we will get a lot longer in this country.
You keep going like this, you make me cry.
I'm just saying the facts, man. I welcome everybody on my show. It doesn't matter what you
Love
are.
you, Joey.
You're a good
Thank
person.
you,
Thank
Joe.
you
Thank you so
For
much,
having
Joe.
me. Good to meet you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Cecilia, I will talk to you hopefully tomorrow.
You know, those cameras are always upside down.
I know, everything's the opposite, right? Thank you so much, Joe, for having me tonight.
No problem.
Ing, again, it's a blessing to know you. I
Same
hope
here.
one day that we can meet face to face and shake
We
the
will.
hand and say, hey, you live in White Rock. I love White Rock.
No, it's a good place.
It
It's
is.
a good place.
It is. Beautiful place.
Thank
I'm
you,
going
guys.
there tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow. I
Ing,
got work to do tomorrow.
hook them up. Go for a hookup. Go for like a bite to eat or something.
Listen to me. I think if I hook up with the Sicilian tomorrow, then we will be way more drunk down the road than if I meet him in 3 months. Let's build the relationship, the friendship.
Sometime soon, Ing.
If
you,
you're in
guys.
BC, we will meet and we will have a good
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Take
Thank
care.
you for having me, Joe.
No problem. See you guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Anytime. And to the rest of the wonderful and amazing, beautiful Booney Believers, I appreciate everybody tonight for coming on with your support, your love, and your energy. I love you all, and I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of the night. Love each other, respect each other, and always remember, respect women 110%. Together today, we made one of the greatest shows in the world on Joe Sports Channel. This will be remembered as history, folks. Producer Clark came on. He had his A game. We talked about the Toronto Maple Leafs. We talked about the National Hockey League. And we talked about the great Sicilian, Ing, and many more on the show like Joker. We will see you all next week, next Saturday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, National Football League Talk. If you don't have my Snapchat, you must add me. YRAFI4. Lots of football on my story tomorrow. Take care, guys, and have a beautiful rest of the weekend. Thank you all, and God bless you guys.